morning, everybody. How is everybody this beautiful Friday morning here in the Northeast? Good to have you with us on the Jack and Keith Weekend Playbook. Let me kill this music. Good to have you all with us. Last week of the NFL preseason. Baseball races heating up. College football actually with some real games this week. We'll talk about all of that. Jack and I'll make a few picks in a very limited card. I want to my co-host, Hall of Fame boxing writer Jack Hirsch. Good morning, Jack.
Hey, good morning, Keith.
Hopefully things are going well today. My last weekend coming up before I retire. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether you're going to look different next week, Keith, but we'll see.
As long as I don't look, like I'm 100, I think I'll be fine. Little party last night. Small group of my longtime associates. We had a nice time last night, so I want to thank them as well.
Well, did you feel like you were player traded, Keith? Going from one dugout to the other when they gave you the goodbyes?
No, some of them I think were there out of obligation and were happy to see me go, but that's another story. Listen, real quick. Thanks for everybody watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Check the bottom of the screen for the groups we can share too. We always thank them. Getting right into it, Jack. The Giants played their last preseason game last night against the Patriots. Waxed them pretty good, but I can tell you that there's probably two guys that played last night for the Patriots that you'll have a chance of seeing during the regular season. Duggar and Peppers are the only guys I can imagine having any impact this year. But Tommy DeVito looked very good against scrubs. Jackson Dart played a bit, didn't play badly. Needs to learn how to slide, by the way, and not take on defensive players head on. Very scary moment for them last night. But Jackson Dart's had a really good preseason. I think he'll start number 2 on that depth chart. Maybe have a chance to get the starting job at some point. We've talked a little bit about that. The question is, who stays behind those two guys? Are they going to keep Winston? Are they going to keep DeVito? Or what's the deal going to be?
It's a confusing situation with Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart would be best served by opening up the season being the quarterback. That would be the best thing for him. You know the way I feel about quarterbacks hanging a clipboard. If they're raw, if they're a developmental player, like let's say a Will Howard at Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Guys like that should be carrying a clipboard because he could learn a great deal from Aaron Rodgers watching at least his first year. Jackson Dart is ready to play, but the problem is the Giants committed to Russell Wilson before they drafted Jackson Dart. They committed to him being the starter, which was fine for now. And they committed to Jameis Winston to be the primary backup. They gave him guaranteed money, the whole thing. And then they drafted Jackson Dart. The Giants clearly did not know what they were doing for sure going into the draft. I mean, they knew they wanted a young quarterback. They thought Shedeur Sanders at one point might be the guy. He interviewed poorly. That's a story in itself. But they liked Jackson Dart, and he could be a real gem. And then they got Tommy DeVito, who's not going to ever be their starter. Heaven forbid that happening. However, they love Tommy DeVito because he knows their system. You could throw him in an emergency. He's well-liked throughout the organization. He's well-liked by the fan base. And you don't want to lose a guy like that. And the perfect place to put Tommy DeVito would be on the practice squad.
You can hide him there, right? Yeah.
Another team would probably claim him. And when you've invested, Keith, when you've invested time in something, you don't want someone else to be the beneficiary of your hard work.
Do you think he'd get taken, though? I mean, I thought they could hide him on the practice squad because I don't think anybody else will claim him.
Oh, yeah, one team will claim him, yeah. It's a backup, a third stringer. They have injuries, the whole thing.
Good morning, Linda. I'm sure Mac, even though it was a preseason game, is actually laughing his head off at me this morning. So, listen.
Mac loves the preseason. I didn't like it, but Mac, he liked it.
You watch games like last night, and they're basically meaningless. I'm not even sure why we're playing this third game because all these rest of these games, I don't know who's going to play. Let me go back to Jackson Dart though before we move off of that. The talk about him starting now, I agree, and I know Mac always had an opinion. Guys need to sit for a year, but some guys do, some guys don't. You mentioned guys that do. Howard, maybe Cam Ewers is another guy, and they'll get better down the road. Some guys are ready to play now, though, but should they play? It depends on the game situation. Are the Giants good enough that if Jackson Dart plays, he makes them a playoff contender? I don't know about that. Or is he going to get the crap beat out of him like a lot of quarterbacks have and been thrown in too early, even though they may have been ready to play? The rest of the team wasn't ready to play at a high level around him, which would concern me as a young quarterback. That's it. To me, always, if a guy's ready to play. You play the best guys. If you don't play the best guys, you're nuts. Unless the guy's going to get his confidence beat down because you don't put him in a position to succeed early.
Hey, Joe Burrow, who's arguably the best quarterback in the NFL at the moment. Arguably at the moment. I'm not talking about achievements and what anyone has done in the past. Yep. Then it's obviously Patrick Mahomes. He came into the league with an awful offensive line. Awful. And it was that way for a while. He took the Bengals to a Super Bowl. It's not ideal. But people think the Giants are going to snap their fingers, and 1 year from now, they're going to have an elite offensive line. Yeah. Eventually, you got to get in there. Jackson Dart is somewhat polished. He's not raw. He's not a developmental player. That's the point. But am I criticizing the Giants? I'm criticizing their planning. They didn't know for sure they'd be able to draft Jackson Dart. They moved up in the draft to get him. They did commit to Russell Wilson to start this year. See how it works out with Russell Wilson. But they also kind of committed to Jameis Winston as a primary backup. But Jameis Winston has seemed to evolve a lot, not only as a quarterback, but as a person as well. And he's 100% for the team. If he was moved behind Jackson Dart on the depth chart, he'd still be very supportive.
Do you see? I see this. And by the way, I like the way Jackson Dart carries himself on the field. I like a lot of it, not just his physical tools, but the way he carries himself on the field, the way he's a field general out there, I think, already at a young age. I like to see that. The problems you just talked about, don't they tie back to the fact in a way, or at least the way they've gone about this, make it worse with this? You've got two guys who are in limbo with their careers with the Giants, and Dabo and Shine. This whole situation is another example and shines a light on the fact that when you got two guys in limbo, it's hard. Whatever decisions they make are going to be criticized because are you trying to protect your own career by playing Jackson Dart too soon? To me, it's just if you had a new regime in there right now, it'd be easier to make these quarterback decisions than it would be with these two guys that are still there.
Yeah, I agree to a point, and under normal circumstances, Keith, you're completely correct. But I don't think Shine and Dybala in limbo. John Mara could have easily fired them last year. It was a perfect time to fire both guys. The team was terrible. You had the debacle with Saquon Barkley. Yet he didn't fire him. He brought him back, and they'll be communicating all along. If, Jackson Dart's the key guy. They could go 6-11, the Giants, but if Jackson Dart gets in at some point and he's developing and he gives you the impression he's the quarterback of the future, then, the ball and Shine will be allowed to go on. Okay, so I really don't think they're in limbo. And let's learn from the Daniel Jones situation with the Giants. He comes in against Tampa Bay one game. He lights it up. He wins the game. And he shows flashes like he could be a really good quarterback. And we saw how his career played out with the Giants.
I always thought, and actually it's a nice little segue because I didn't write down Daniel Jones, but Daniel Jones has won the quarterback competition, if there was one, in Indianapolis. And
No, that's not correct. Anthony Richardson lost the quarterback competition at Indianapolis.
That's fair. I mean, the coach does say this isn't for week one. This is for the season. But, the season can be very short, I think, when you make those kind of comments.
Yeah.
I think I've always said to all the people who hate the Giant fans when he was there, hated on him the last year. Again, things went really badly. But I thought up through Dabo's first year, I thought Daniel Jones progressed nicely as a quarterback. His problem was, which wasn't his fault, he was drafted 6th in the draft instead of in the second round someplace where he probably should have been. And if he was drafted in the second round, Giant fans would have looked at his progression until injuries and everything caught up with him as a very good progress. And he was going to be a viable NFL quarterback and help them. I think he was doomed from the start in New York because they traded up to number 6 to pick him. And very similar to what happened to Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis. You get overdrafted. It's not your fault. You're not ready to play.
Well, I think the Giant fans wanted Dwayne Haskins from Ohio State, and they thought they were going to get him. And when they didn't get him and they drafted, when they bypassed Haskins for Daniel Jones, it shocked a lot of people. So I think he had that against him. But the Giant fans are giving Jones every opportunity. Eli Manning was still the starter.
Yeah.
So Jones opened the year as a backup. And eventually Jones got his chance. He had one real pretty good year. But even that 1 year where he took the Giants to the playoffs is deceiving. The Giants got off to a 6-1 start.
Yeah.
They won several close games, such as when the Tennessee Titans, when Bullock missed the field goal, at the end as time expired. That would have been a loss. And then after going 6-1, they were 3-6-1 the rest of the way in the regular season. But because of their early cushion, they got in as a wild card. Daniel Jones and the Giants played a great game in beating the Vikings. And then the next playoff game against the Philadelphia Eagles, they were awful. They didn't show up, and that kind of was the real Giant team going forward. They just had this little spurt, in the beginning of the year where they put it together. And it's easier because of what you say, Keith, because teams aren't as ready early in the year.
That was his third season. What was that, his third season or fourth season when they went to the playoffs? So right around there, right?
Yeah.
Again, my point, though, being just for Daniel Jones, if he had been taken in the second or third round, people would have thought a lot differently about the way he progressed as a Giants. And the last 2 seasons could have gone different. Again, it's rear view mirror thinking.
You could say that with anyone. You could say that with these players that are making enormous money and they're giving you so-so production and fans are booing them. What are you going to be saying? If they're making the league minimum, you'd think they're great.
Well, no, I'm only saying that the expectations were risen so high for this guy when they should not have been. I don't think it was fair to Daniel Jones.
I don't know. He didn't come in as a blue chip prospect, but he's going to get his chance.
They traded up Pat. Did he not go in the same draft as Patrick Mahomes?
No. Patrick Mahomes went with Mitch Trubisky and Deshaun Watson. They went ahead of him.
That was another trade up, right? Anyway, still.
But listen, Daniel Jones at Indianapolis. Okay, so he's going to be their quarterback this year over Anthony Richardson. It basically tells you that the Colts have given up on Anthony Richardson for the most part. He's still going to be an Indianapolis Colt in all likelihood, unless Richardson pushes back. If there's dissension from Richardson, they'll trade him somewhere. But if Richardson accepts it, and indications are he doesn't like it, but he will accept the coach's decision. He said so publicly, and wait for an opportunity again. That's the only way he revives his career. Look, no matter what the Carolina Panthers say, Keith, they gave up on Bryce Young. But then Andy Dalton got injured.
Yeah.
And Bryce Young got another opportunity at the end of last season. And guess what? He looked good. He looked good at the end of the year. And now he's their franchise quarterback again. And that we'll see how that plays out. And we'll see how it plays out for Anthony Richardson, because at some point this season, he probably gets another opportunity. And if Daniel Jones which I doubt is going to happen, should be so good play all year and keep him off the field, then I think at the end of this season, the Colts move on from Anthony Richardson.
Couple quick comments here. Good morning, everybody that's joined us already. J Train, I see here. Rick, Danny, Linda, CA, whoever else I'm missing here. But the proverbial clipboard. This is
I don't want to.
You have the clipboard theory.
I see Bryce got benched because of ineffective play. That's why guys do get benched. They don't get benched when they're playing well.
That up. Oh, Brian put that up. Good morning, Brian.
Anthony Richardson has some major deficiencies, though. I see. Yeah, I mean,
he's got.
We all know that, and he gets hurt too.
Yeah,
he doesn't know when to go down with the ball. I mean, the Colts drafted Anthony Richardson because he was an amazing athlete, and they drafted scared. They were scared if he became a super player, they'd never forgive themselves with him there.
So many teams go off the rails with this type of thinking. I've used this analogy before. The Yankees held on to Gary Sanchez for about 4 seasons longer than they should have because Brian Cashman was afraid if I trade him and he becomes a player we thought he was going to be, I'm going to look bad. Meanwhile, he's stinking it up here year after year. I don't understand that type of thinking, but then again, I'm not in that position. So
you kind of warmed my heart because I was covering this boxing event and I was in the media room, and this is when Gary Sanchez was coming up and he was really looking good.
He looked great.
That was high. And I remember saying the Yankees could get Chris Sale if they traded Gary Sanchez from him, and everyone said, "Oh no, Jack. That would be a disaster. You can never trade a Gary Sanchez for Chris Sale."
Chris Sale, while he was hurt, would have produced more than Gary Sanchez for the Yankees. So I kind of agree with Rick here, by the way, about Jones. I think he may have he's not going to become a great quarterback, but by getting out of New York, sitting around in Minnesota, clearing his head, watching, a guy who knows how to deal with quarterbacks and O'Connell, I think will help him. We'll see. This team's not very good. So,
Stop blaming New York. Stop blaming New York for guys being inadequate, for guys not being good enough.
Some guys can't play there. That's all there is.
Nothing to do with New York.
Hold on. I said New York. What I really mean in this particular situation, not every situation, all I mean is getting a new surroundings, getting out of where you are. Some guys have to move on. It's a great example, and we've seen some in Geno Smith, but you go back in time, you remember Jim Plunkett was a first-round draft pick, number 1 pick in the draft, got beat up, and he got the kick, kicked out of him in New England, went to San Francisco, continued. He was beaten down. The Raiders picked him up and sat him on the bench for 2.5 seasons, cleared his head, watched the game, and came back and was close to great quarterback, won 2 Super Bowls. It can happen. You need to get to different surroundings, clear your head, and suddenly things will click. Whether that'll happen for Daniel Jones, I don't know. But Plunkett's a great example of what Rick's talking about over a longer period of time.
If you're with a better team, you're going to perform better. And we're going to see an example of it this year with Sam Darnold. I wish him all the luck. But I knew with the Minnesota Vikings, he was going to be really good. He's not going to be nearly as good with the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
Because the Vikings, they would have had a much better offense around them than what he's going to have at Seattle this year.
Yeah, and I agree with James here, too, that the Colts have some really good offensive weapons. I don't know that they can protect the quarterback like a lot of teams in this league. That's going to be the key for Daniel Jones. Real quick, too, I missed a comment up here from Danny. Danny, you're absolutely right. Preseason games are pretty much useless because you saw last night. I don't even know why we're playing these games. I'm not going to get wrapped up as a Patriot fan.
Yeah, I hate Danny. I hate watching NFL exhibition games. I mean, I just hate it. I mean, I put on the TV, I start watching, I get bored to no end.
Now, they should be useful. Again, they should use these games to get ready to play real games, but they just don't do it. They want to evaluate 2s and 3s not even 2s, 3s, and 4s at the expense of getting ready to play real games in September. And I think it's ridiculous the way they approach this. That said, I think the remaining mystery in the preseason leading up to a couple of weeks when we have the first games of the season are the remaining hold-ins, holdouts, whatever they might be. You've still got Parsons, Hendrickson, you've got McLaurin, the main guys. I'm probably missing a few that have not signed contracts. A couple of them, Hendrickson has not played. McLaurin has not played. So even we don't know if they're going to play. I'm assuming these teams are going to either resolve these situations or the players will play come game one, because I don't think they do themselves any justice sitting out. And by the way, the team formerly known as the Redskins have got some serious issues now at wide receiver because they've dropped a couple of their guys behind McLaurin have gotten hurt. So this team could step back if McLaurin were to sit out the season and those wide receivers don't get healthy. They could take a step back this year in Washington.
Yeah, McLaurin is a valuable piece. Look, Micah Parsons, Trey Hendrickson. But the moment of truth is coming up for these players more so than the teams, because they're going to miss out on a game check. And you take a case like Micah Parsons, is he going to want to give up over $1 million a game? I mean, Micah Parsons never said he wouldn't be playing. Trey Hendrickson said that he wouldn't be playing.
Right.
And these players have to understand, you sit out the whole season, your value is only going to go down. You could be a complete free agent at the end of next year. And if you're Trey Hendrickson, your value is hurt. In the case of Micah Parsons, he's 26. Hypothetically, any player that's 26, if he sits out till he's 27, maybe he'll get his deal he wants, but odds are he won't, because with the money lost during the season and all. And then there's the ripple effect with the team, how they feel about it. And it's an interesting situation, but sometimes we need something to speed it along. You know that a couple of days ago, Keith, I didn't realize that new Netflix documentary on the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones, it's called The Gambler and the Cowboys or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was so long. I watched one episode while I'm eating lunch.
It's like
done. So I figured, let me keep watching it. It's 8 episodes. I spent my day watching it. I don't like to spend a day, a whole day, watching any documentary. I like to watch in parts. I'm fine. I watch one each day and be done in 8 days. But how the Emmitt Smith holdout actually may have ended, they didn't say this directly. Emmitt Smith sat out 2 games, and the Cowboys lost both games. And Charles Haley was mad because the guy filling in for Emmitt Smith kept fumbling the ball, fouling up. And after they lost the second game, Jerry Jones is in the locker room, and Charles Haley was mad. And with all his might, he threw his helmet not at Jerry Jones, but it came close to hitting Jerry Jones and crashed into the wall and made a hole in the wall. And it's saying, why are we playing this guy when we have the best running back in the NFL? Like he was mad. He said, he didn't use those words. He said, we have the best running back in the NFL, and he's not here. And Jerry Jones then got the deal done, that week.
Speaking of Jerry and holdouts, I mean, he kind of alluded to the fact yesterday that he's offered Parsons the richest non-quarterback deal in history, basically up around $200 million guaranteed. Now, Parsons has turned that down. He's nuts, by the way. And do you think Jerry's really made that offer or anything close to it? The closest thing to it, I made a note here somewhere, is like $123 million guaranteed for Myles Garrett, for defensive players.
Yeah, you have to know how it's written up in the deal. For example, Jerry Jones, for all we know, may have offered Micah Parsons a 10-year deal for $400 million, $40 million a year, meaning $200 million guaranteed. So that means the first 5 years he's been guaranteed $20 million a year. It sounds good, and it's the type of offer, if he puts forth an offer similar to that fans will say, oh, you have to take it. Oh, man, how can you turn it down? It's fooling even the Keith Engles, who's saying, oh, the other biggest guarantee was $132 million. Let me see the framework of this contract. There's a way to smartly put it down, meaning he could cut Micah Parsons at some point. Yeah, $200 million is going to be guaranteed. Micah Parsons is 26. Jerry Jones is going to feel, well, he'll be able to be in the league till he's 36. I'm guaranteeing him $20 million a year. That'll be on the low side for a superstar. They're creative ways of doing it. But Jerry Jones's way is saying, oh, well, we had the deal all worked out, this and that. Someone's lying. Someone's telling the truth. And I don't know who it is.
You know, Jerry loves drama. Brian's right. But, you know, Jerry ought to love Super Bowl trophies a little more, and maybe we'd be more successful over the last 30.
He does not do, but I just want to say this. He's under contract, Micah Parsons, this year for what, like 23,000
Yeah.
million, excuse me. Next season, they can franchise him again for like 26 million a year.
Yeah.
And then they can franchise him the year after that with a big bump up in pay. Cowboys don't have to do anything at all. Why is Jerry Jones the villain? Oh, you have to make Micah Parsons happy. He's your leader.
I don't think so.
To the NFL Players Association, they agreed to this type of contract structure.
Yeah. And the teams have the leverage here. That's why these guys have to play. They don't have any leverage. They've got to settle or play. Great point by James. And by the way, similar to what we talked about, Patrick Mahomes' contract does look terrible for him right now, but guess what you don't hear? Patrick Mahomes bitching and moaning about his contract situation. He knows what he did. He's going to get paid again eventually, and he'll wait his time out. It's not like he's a pauper, for crying out loud. Stop signing long-term contracts if they're going to be obsolete in 2 years.
Well, Mahomes signed for $45 million a year. I think like a 10-year deal.
Yeah, pretty good deal.
But deals get passed. That's just the way it works. What happens if Patrick Mahomes and any other player who signed a big deal gets injured? And even if they could play, they're no longer the player they were. Does anyone think they're going to give back money? Have you ever heard, Keith, of a team coming to a player and saying, we're not letting you suit up to play unless you renegotiate your contract? Can you imagine how outrageous that would be? But we allow the players to do that to the team.
Rick says reporting this morning that Parsons' agent told Jerry to shove it. And if that's the offer, there's no way the agent would have said that, by the way. So I think it's bogus. I think it's bogus. Well, again, that's a good
point by Danny.
And it's a very good point, and that's why maybe that's why he doesn't bitch and moan. But still, it's a status thing, though. The contract itself, for a lot of guys, it's status. I got to be the number one guy. Every time somebody signs a new highest contract for whatever, quarterback, non-quarterback, defense, the next guy's got to be the next highest paid guy. Just for status. Lamar Chase did it. We saw it with wide receivers. We see it with defensive guys now. And enough. And Danny said earlier, enough's enough. You guys are making, life-altering money. Somebody gave you $45 million just for 1 year. I think your life's going to change a little bit. Or at least your kids' lives will change. Somebody's life.
Yeah, but getting back to the individual players, Trey Hendrickson is dug in. He says he's flat out not coming to camp. He's 31 years old?
Yeah.
It'll hurt if Trey Hendrickson sits out the whole year. His value goes down. He's not even going to be offered close to what the Bengals are offering this year for next year if he sits out.
I think, and we haven't talked about any of these guys getting traded because it's not terribly likely, but if somebody were to get traded, I think Trey Hendrickson's the most likely guy to get moved.
Yeah.
By the way, there's a team with a bunch of draft picks and a whole lot of cap money I can think of that could use him right tomorrow.
Yeah, but the problem is any team that trades for Trey Hendrickson isn't under the cap, isn't going to be able to pay him what, he wants to get from the Bengals.
Well,
So it'll be a situation kind of where he'll have to come this year, perform at a top level, and then maybe they take care of him next year, maybe. We saw that play out. We see that play out a lot. Players like Jamal Adams, he gets traded from the Jets to Seattle. They didn't do his contract immediately. A lot of the times these contracts aren't done so quickly once the guy gets traded.
It take a lot of time. CA brings up, since we're talking about contracts, how about the new sports and overall streaming packages? We'll get into it at some point. I think it's I'm still trying to dig in and figure out what it all means. One thing I will tell you about this, since we're talking about the NFL, I think one of the worst things that's happened, and Jack, you were, as a boxing writer, I mean, you've been part of the media. I think the NFL buying into part of one of the networks that is covering them is really bad news. And he says, "Oh, we're not gonna really comment on their coverage. It won't change. They can be negative about this, that, and the other thing." And I just think it really smells bad when people that are being covered by a network or a newspaper or whatever it is owns, a big portion of the profits that'll be coming from there, especially when it's their number one property.
Yeah, basically what you're talking about, Keith, the conflicts of interest. I couldn't help think of Tom Brady again being down at the Raiders facility wearing a Las Vegas Raider jacket, working for Fox. I've come to the conclusion he shouldn't be working for Fox anymore, one or the other.
I agree 100%.
I mean, why not put Jerry Jones in the broadcast booth and call a Redskin Giant game, for example? I mean, I'm just joking around here, but Tom Brady shouldn't be in the Fox broadcast booth, even though I'm confident he could call a game very objectively and be very professional. Even with that being the case, I just don't like the conflict.
We got it is a bit of collusion, I suppose. CA, we got talking about that Wednesday night about Brady, and I don't think he's done that great a job. Some people thought he got better towards the end of the year.
I thought it was okay. I enjoyed listening to him.
But how can you possibly do your job well when he's got this whole list of restrictions of things he can and cannot say because of his status with the Raiders? I mean, it hurts the broadcast, I think, as well. So nobody wins in this situation except Brady, who's getting, $40 million a year or whatever, where the hell he's getting.
Yeah, I mean, let's say you have a family member and you're broadcasting a game. I remember many, many moons ago when I was a kid, I'm watching the Stanley Cup Finals
on TV when you were a kid, Jack. I'll jump out in front of Rick Sherlock.
Yeah, as a kid at one time. Yeah, and Phil Esposito was in the broadcast booth, and it's the seventh game to decide who was going to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
And in goal for the Chicago Blackhawks was Tony Esposito.
Yeah.
Outstanding goalie, but Phil Esposito's brother. And Tony Esposito gave up a goal on a high shot. And Phil Esposito was looking and he said, "Well, it looks like Tony just blew it on that shot." And I guess that went over fine between the two of them. But could you imagine in this day and age the sensitivity involved? Like a simple thing like Charles Barkley telling Michael Jordan or saying on the air he's got to surround himself with better people. That completely blew up a close friendship. One remark like that.
Well, social
That's
media.
the sensitivities we have.
Yeah, social media has made us so sensitive, I think, because all this stuff is reported in real time and hammered until you just want to, throw up because you've seen so much of it. Anything else before we head into the 2-week hiatus? Now we don't even play any football for 2 weeks now before we kick it off, which is nonsense. I don't have any other preseason news that I think is going to come out of this weekend, unless somebody gets hurt, but nobody of consequence is going to play.
No, next week I'm going to sit down. I'm going to go over my NFL predictions.
We'll do our picks next
week.
The
news in sports, it varies so quickly. During the NBA draft, the NBA was the hot news. And the NFL for a little while, it's probably going to cool off a few days. And now baseball is going to be Yeah, well, with what's going on in baseball now, look, we have 6 weeks or so remaining in the regular season, and some of the teams are obviously going to be in the playoffs. In the American League for the wild card
Yeah.
position, it's going to be a bit of a race. The National League isn't quite as exciting, even though there's an element of surprise with the New York Mets. They're only a half game ahead ahead of Cincinnati for the third spot in the wild card race. And Cincinnati doesn't have that strong a team, and the Mets have been slumping. So I got to feel the Mets are going to assert themselves at some point and pull away from Cincinnati.
I'm not sure. Cincinnati's got a good young team. Their pitching is starting to get healthy. They had a lot of pitching injuries during the year. Stevenson's pitching very well. I like Terry Francona. I think that gives them an edge in the dugout. And they got some good young players. And if they mature during this race, they've been playing better baseball here the last few weeks, while the Mets just can't get out of their own way. I think the Reds have got a real chance. I think it's a 4-team race here. I don't think the Cardinals, even though they're 4 games back.
No, forget the Cardinals. Put a fork in them.
It looked like a minor league team. I saw them play against the Yankees on Sunday. I don't know what the heck I was even looking at.
And they overachieved the Cardinals early in the year. They were better than they even expected to be early in the year. But they've basically come down to earth. They're not going to be a factor. And the teams ahead of the Mets, the Cubs, the Padres, I mean, they're still catchable. I think basically these teams just have to worry about themselves for now, play well, and things are going to work itself out. The American League is more intriguing because you had a number of teams that got off to a bad start, and now they're playing better, and then they fall back a little bit. But we have 1 or 2 teams. It could be anyone. It could be a Cleveland. It could be a Kansas City who really starts putting it togetger.
Kansas City's only 2 games out right now after going 8-2 the last 10. They're playing really good baseball. And the Astros, that whole AL West has been up and down. The Mariners were playing some of the best baseball of anybody for a month, and now they've had a horrible 2 weeks, and they've fallen back to the Astros again. The Astros haven't been terribly consistent themselves, can't stay healthy. And the Tigers have got them to throw Brian a little bone here. The Tigers have really straightened things out here, I think, the last 10 days or so. And I still think they're the prohibitive favorite in the American League. I think at the end of the day, they got the best pitching. They got a really good manager who's underrated because of ridiculous scandal here a couple of years ago when they won a World Series. And I think the American League is going to be a lot of fun. The Yankees, by the way, have gotten themselves straightened out, but they got a big series with the Red Sox that they lose the first game. You know what? And I got to talk about the 9-home run game the other day. It's an exciting thing. It's great. Everybody gets all wound up, but it's exactly what I keep talking about. The Yankees, they hit 9 home runs and they win. They don't hit home runs, they don't win. And
so you're complaining about the Yankees who had a 5-game winning streak and they lose 1 game.
You lose to the
We're
Red Sox.
hearing how bad they are. We're hearing how flawed they are. I think statistically, I might be wrong. I believe I'm correct that the Yankees in the last month or so have led the major league in steals. I mean, they've been very aggressive on the bases. I know if you watched the game yesterday and you saw the 3 errors in 1 inning, but those are physical errors. You know what I'd be more upset about if I were the Red Sox? You have a runner, Hamilton, on third base. He's caught napping and he's picked off third base for the Red Sox.
That's bad.
I mean, that's outrageous.
You see that with the Yankees.
And you know who I blame in that situation? The coach. He's talking to the coach. The coach immediately should have alerted him to get on the base, not to drift off and talk to the coach. And it was a fun play to watch. McMahon, the Yankee third baseman, he drifts over to third very slowly, makes eye contact with Lewis Hill, who throws to third, and they actually pick him off. I mean, that was so Bush and so inexcusable at that level. I mean, that's unforgivable to me. I mean, a physical throw that's bad, it's upsetting, but you could forgive that at least.
I don't disagree. Again, fundamental baseball is something that's lost. I talk about here all the time. McMahon, by the way, has been a nice pickup for the Yankees. His numbers aren't going to ever pop out at you, but he's a baseball player. He helps you in a lot of places, makes some big hits, plays some good defense. I like him a lot. One thing
they have another option. It's a Caballero. You love him on the base path because he makes things happen.
Well,
one of the leaders in steals in the major league.
I think that's one of the reasons that stat you just brought up probably is accurate, I would guess, because it's about the time he joined the team. But
Chaz Chisholm is aggressive on the bases. Too.
Yeah,
he's really taken off. Yeah.
Caballero's got to be smarter. You can't get thrown out of that game the other night, by the way, because they don't want, they want their best defensive team on the field as they try to close out the game, and he gets thrown out of the game, and they got to put Stanton in left right field.
Will you tell me this? This is what scared me, Keith. The Yankees had no catcher left, at the end of the game in case someone got injured. No one on the bench. What does a team do? I've never seen this situation. If they have no reserve catcher on the bench and the guy who's playing gets injured.
Somebody's got to catch.
Someone's got to catch, but can anyone be capable of catching? Do you have a position player who caught at least in high school all the way back then, who at least could put the gear on? And then what is the team supposed to do? Is the pitcher supposed to slow pitch?
I don't know. It happens so rarely. And teams normally will have somebody that they designate their emergency catcher, so he does a little bit of catching on off days in preseason or whatever. But still, I mean,
any other position you could get by with it. And it's hard. Don't misunderstand me. I saw Jorge Posada fill in at second base during this late game, and he nearly killed the first baseman the way he fired the throw and pulled him off the base. Yeah, but at least you can get by. But catching, that's kind of, man, I mean, that's, I don't know what they do. You're saying someone has to be designated. Am I going to all of a sudden see John Carlos Stanton? We hear that he caught in high school. And he's going to get behind the plate and hold the glove.
He played right field for 3 days and couldn't play for the next 3 days. So, no. But there is somebody designated. I don't know who it is, but I'm sure they've got somebody designated. Yeah. Danny's jumping off his Dodgers, it looks like, in his World Series prediction. And, of course, yes, anything – as a Yankee fan, I'm sorry. I'm spoiled. And anything less than a World Series is a disappointment. And it's not just that, Danny. It's the way they play. Again, I can't watch this year after year. Bad fundamental baseball. And
I picked the Tigers to go to the World Series in the beginning of the year.
Yeah. I picked Baltimore, so that's how well I'm doing. So anyway, we'll be getting into a lot more baseball, obviously, as we get towards the playoffs and these races heat up. Let's go to college football a little bit. We're going to make, and every week, just to announce a little something, Jack and I will be making 3 picks. This week's a little tougher because there's only 5 games, but 2 favorites and a dog you've got to pick. And we'll get into that in just a second. But some of the news coming out of the NCAA is interesting, and it all ties back to, again, money. The SEC is going to go to 9 games. Big Ten's been pushing them to go to 9 games. The only other leagues that play 9 league games are the Big Ten, the Big 12. But this is all tied to the fact that once they get to 16 teams, the Big Ten and the SEC want 4 automatic bids. And the other leagues would get, 2, I think, for the ACC and the Big 12, and then a group of 5. How many teams do I have to have out of one league? And by the way, the Big Ten's also pushing for 24 teams in the playoff. And those 2 leagues will get 14 of those 24 teams, and you'd have 5 lost teams. Can't we just settle on something? And if you want to have these super leagues like the SEC and the Big Ten has done, then you're going to have maybe some of your better teams not get there because they finished 5th in your league. Jesus.
We're getting texted by our group during the show, Keith. If you hear the text thing go off, I mean, they're probably going to want to discuss the Cleveland Brown quarterback situation. I don't know. I'm having a little fun now. This isn't basketball, Keith, with this tournament. This is college. It's
a little
instead
different
of a playoff format like this, how many games do you expect them to play? Can they play? Are we going to shorten the regular season?
You'd have to. You'd have to. If you went to 24 teams, you'd have to.
Yeah.
That's never going to fly. That's never going to fly, that 24 team. And I think, to me, it's just the Big Ten trying to take an absurd position, to use, I think it was Brian that put that up, that the whole thing's absurd. And I think they're doing it to try to get what they really want, which is that 16 team field, and it be 4-4, 2-2-1, and 3 at-large teams. That's it. Notre Dame probably doesn't like that math, I can tell you for right now. I think it's crazy what they're doing. They should go to they should go to the format I said that I nearly got sued from Basement Bob, because he said he wrote a book that only his mom bought. I didn't say I came up with this system. I said I advocated for it, which was 16 teams, 10 conference winners. Every team that wins there's only 10 conferences in football, not basketball where there's 28 or whatever the hell it is. It's a big number. There's 10 leagues. Let them all play, and then you got 6 at-large teams. I'm going to get the best teams in the playoff. I'm going to get every champion in the country a chance to play for a national championship. Multiple will get blown out in the first round. That's fine. Why can't we play a real championship tournament?
Yeah, 16 teams mean the national champion has to play 4 games in the playoff scenario.
If they get a bye with B3. Oh, no, I'm sorry. There'd be no buys. You're right. I'm sorry. There's no buys in 16 teams.
I mean,
yeah.
they're always looking to shake it, but I'll admit 4 teams isn't quite enough. They do have to expand it to 8 if you can have a playoff system. Get this nonsense off there. Come on.
Mute it. It's waking. Jack doesn't even get any sleep anymore because of this whole.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Mike doesn't. My sound's turned off all the time. I have to look at my phone to see if I got a call or a text, because this just drives me. Not just them, but other people drive me crazy too.
No, well, I like the people involved, so they're good people.
What else is going on here? I wanted to talk about we're going to get to our picks in a second. Notre Dame changes their logo for the first time in 60 years. That's kind of big news. It doesn't look a whole lot different, except there's no football anymore. Not sure what the deal is, why we have to take the football out of their football logo.
Yeah, you know what I don't get to? All these quarterback decisions are coming in late, like at Notre Dame as well. They just picked a starter.
Yeah.
I mean, all these competitions, is it because we don't have 4-year starters anymore? The teams are picking quarterbacks on the fly.
Transfer portal is one big thing, because your starters leave. Either they matriculate out. I guess probably not the right word.
In UCLA, right? They basically flip-flop quarterbacks.
Yeah, it wasn't a trade per se, but yeah.
Yeah, but it turned out that way.
Yeah. Nico went out to UCLA, which I don't think is going to have any effect out there. And then Aguiar, who's been more accomplished as a quarterback, by the way, goes to Tennessee.
What's happened to the California schools that used to be really strong in contention? Now they're no more than so. Like one of the games, for example, Stanford and Hawaii. Years ago, Stanford was a power. You know, John Elway, the quarterback, Bill Walsh, a head coach. And
even more recently, Jim Harbaugh had great success there before.
Absolutely.
David Shaw had great success his first 5 years there, and the program's just taken a drastic turn the last 3 or 4 years, and they've got a new coach this year as well. But to your point about quarterbacks, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 7 of the top 10 teams in the country in the preseason polls, which are ridiculous anyway, have new quarterbacks this year. So that's how do we know how they're going to? I don't know how Slayton's going to play for Ohio State. They always seem to plug in on the guy who does fine, because there's a lot of talent around him. But you know, the only guy in the top, the 2 teams in the top 10 who really have solid quarterback situations are Clemson with Klubnik, who's been there, the starter for 3 years, and Penn State, who's got Drew Allar came back, and you know James Franklin can't beat anybody in the top 20. He's 4-20 against top 20 opponents since he's been at Penn State.
A lot of people feel Clemson is going to be back in the mix this
I like
year,
Clemson.
that they're kind of back.
Dabo Swinney, again, they haven't had horrible years, right? But they haven't had the years that they were having when they're going and contending for a championship every year. I think he's been bashed for his strategy. He won't go in the portal the way other programs will. He doesn't believe in the portal. He probably brings in a couple of guys, but he doesn't go whole hog like a lot of these teams do. And maybe this year that's going to pay off because he also isn't losing guys to the portal. So he's not recruiting guys every year. And he's got a really veteran team there in Clemson who's going to be working, and Klubnik will be working under Lincoln Riley's brother, I can't remember his first name now, as the offensive coordinator for the second year. And I think this team is going to have a big year, and I think they'll win the ACC and be one of the top-ranked teams in the playoff, personally.
But if Clemson doesn't, and Dabo Swinney's going to be under a lot of pressure to start going into the portal. And I think next year, maybe he has a change of heart if Clemson, doesn't have a big year.
It's hard when everybody else is playing under one set of rules and you're self-imposing a different set on yourself. It's very, very difficult. So, real quick here, it's going to come down to 2 NCAA conferences, Big Ten, SEC, probably. I'm going to give you a dark horse this year, too, by the way. Maybe we'll dive into this a little more next week as well as far as predictions. But watch out for Nebraska in the Big Ten because year 4 for Matt Rule, he's had really good years at Temple, really good years at Baylor. He almost took Baylor to the playoff his 4th year there. And they've got their true sophomore quarterback, Reala. And I like this team's chances to be this year's Indiana, if you will.
We heard that last year with Matt Rule that they were finally ready. We heard that in the second year.
I did say it last year too.
Come on, we did hear that last year.
I talked about it.
Come on.
I think they're back. I'm telling you, they're going to be. I got them in the playoff, actually. Rick Sherlock likes to call them the quitters. They're not quitters. The guys who stayed were not quitters. But by the way, I don't see FSU bouncing back. 2-10 last year. They made some horrible portal decisions last year. Mike Norvell did, and I think 5-7, 6-6 is the best they can expect this year. The schedule's not favorable, and the quarterback they brought in from Boston College is questionable as well. He got benched at BC, so I don't know. Anyway. Let's go to our picks. We only got a handful of games this week, but there's a couple of really good ones in KC. One real good one.
Are we doing all 5? Or are we picking
pick
3 games, 2 favorites, 1 underdog?
Every week, right. So make sure, Jack, it'll always
okay. No, I have it.
Falls to that top 25. You got to change the setting on it. So I'll let you make your picks first, and then I will give mine.
I mean, mine aren't as educated as yours. I mean,
I don't know about that.
I mean, I'm going on instinct a lot, the type of programs they have. I mean, it's not rhyme or reason behind them. Fresno State, I would give 12.5 going to Kansas, even though Kansas is at home. Fresno State, they're talking about them possibly being a top 20 team this year.
They are a dark horse in the Mountain West.
Right. Okay. So to give 12.5 to a team like Kansas, who's really supposed to be a non-factor, I think 12.5 isn't a bad number to give at all. By the way,
real quick, where'd you get 12.5 from? Because I got ESPN with 13, just an FYI.
What is it? You know what you remind me of, Keith?
Might matter.
I like to mention the honeymooners with Cramden and Norton. Cramden was worried. He saw doctors note he had only 6 months to live. And Norton said, don't pay attention to these notes. So he had a friend that made a monkey out of these doctors who said the same thing. And Cramden said, what happened? And Norton said he lived 8 months. and then Cramden said, what does it matter? 6 to 8 months. He was.
All right. Well,
I'm giving the 13. I saw 12.5 yesterday.
Well, we'll go by.
Okay, I'll do 13. I don't give a darn.
You got 13. You're getting an extra half point. You're in good shape. Go ahead.
No, I'm giving.
No, KU is 13-point favorite.
KU, I mean, I'm sorry.
You said you wanted to pick Fresno State.
Yeah.
Plus 13.
Yeah.
There you go. You're getting 13 points. I gave you an extra half point.
And Stanford, Hawaii. What's the line on that?
You have got Stanford, Hawaii. Hawaii is 2.5 at home.
Man, oh man. I mean, Stanford's been so bad, but I already took my underdog pick. So I'm going to have to go Western Kentucky and Sam Houston.
Well, we're going to be already at odds here. Western Kentucky is minus 10.5. And you
wait. I can get 10.5 for Western Kentucky.
You're giving 1.5 or 10.5. 10.5.
I'm giving 10.5 for Western Kentucky.
Correct.
I'm going to give the 10.5.
You got it. And you got one more game to pick. Favorite.
Well, I thought I did 3 games already.
You picked Fresno State plus 13. You picked. Did you take Hawaii?
I took Hawaii.
Oh, I missed that. Sorry. Hawaii minus 2.5. All right, cool. We're going to be. I'm not picking a Hawaii game. Fresno. I'm taking my favorites. Will be. I like Kansas State a lot. I've got Kansas State winning the Big 12. This is a really good test for both of these teams out of the gate. Big 12 matchup in Ireland. I'm going to take K-State and lay the 3. I'm going to take my other favorite, opposite you, Kansas, who I think is going to bounce back big time if Daniel stays healthy at quarterback. Lance Leopold is one of the most underrated coaches in the country. He's not going to be at Kansas much longer. I'm going to lay the, what would I say it was, 13. And for my dog, I'm going to be in the opposite side of you in another game, as I'm going to take Sam Houston and their new coach, Phil Longo, to maybe upset Western Kentucky, but I'll take the 10.5 on Sam Houston.
Now, does a new coach have a bearing in your predictions if you're a new coach, a new era?
It depends. I mean, Sam Houston was pretty good last year. Their coach is gone, Keeler, because they had a good season. They just moved up to the FBS 1 built like 3 years ago, and they've had some pretty good success. And I think they're a chance to win this Conference USA this year. Western Kentucky is one of the better teams in that league, so we'll see. So interesting. We already got a couple of games. We're on the opposite side, week 1 or week 0. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes, and we'll keep track of this as we go, and we'll inform you guys.
Well, the hardest games to pick, you take a game like Idaho State and UNLV where the line's 26.5 points. I mean, how do you pick a game like that? And
actually, more people watch this show know the Hummers than you think.
Yeah.
Like demographic, we're all over 55. We don't have a lot of 18-year-olds, but that's fine because they don't know what the hell's going on anyway. Week 0, what's we got? Sam Houston, CA likes. He's in Texas. He's a Texas guy. CA. Western Kentucky will pass for 400+ yards. There you go. Danny likes your pick. Any last words before we wrap it up? Good show today, Jack. We look forward to another exciting week of preseason football. No, we got a triple header tomorrow to watch on college football. Watch some of those games. I think Vegas. We didn't pick the game. I think the Vegas Idaho State game is a really interesting matchup too. As Dan Mullen takes over UNLV, had pretty good success for a while at Mississippi State and then Florida. UNLV is my pick to get that group of 5 nod in the playoffs. So I think an interesting start to their season against Idaho State. They should win. Whether they cover would be a different story. Good game to watch. So, anything else, Jack?
Well, that's it. It looks like we're about to run out of time.
We are. Don't say that. Geez, as I get older, right? That.
Okay. Yeah. The final bell. How about the final bell's about to ring?
Everything I hear.
I got to find a better feel-good term.
Everything
the show has run its course.
There you go. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Jack, thank you. Great show. Guys, we'll see you back here Monday morning at 8 a.m. And you can catch the MLB update real quick will be not on today as I have a previous commitment this afternoon. We might try to fit it in somewhere. Jack has got the debate show tomorrow morning. Check that out. And I'll be on Sunday with the Stream of Consciousness. And we'll see you all later. Have a great, great weekend. Looks good here in the Northeast. Bye-bye.